Okay guys, now let's move to another part of auto alignment. We will come back to our Xcode project. Here we go. And we will now work on the alignment of the text fields and the buttons. Okay, so we can come back to our simulator and it shows that the text fields are not aligned well. So in this case, as the text fields are the part of the view, if you see here in the left panel, these are all the objects in our scene, including constraints. We have view allocated in the scene, and it has two subviews, which is login and the password. Okay, now let's align these objects. So I will select view. Make sure that you have selected exactly view, not the text field. You can make sure opening the left panel and clicking on the view. Okay, so go to the add constraints button. We want to stick it to the top, which is keeping where it keeps a 20 pixels gap. We want to stick it to the left and right, and we will click add constraints. Okay, so it will be now stretched. So we then try to select a text field, select add constraint, top, left, right, and bottom, because we want to keep this 8 pixels gap between them. So it will resize it automatically. Click Command Z, and so it will throw it back. So we want to keep the same height. Then what we do is we select this login text field, hold Ctrl, left mouse click, drag to the password, release, and we write equal width and the same equal heights. Okay, so here we need to work on the layout of this. We select password, text field, left, right, and bottom, and click add constraints. So now we got no issues even with the view itself. Before we had some warning lights. Okay, let's now run it and see how it looks like. Maybe we've done a mistake. So now everything is working properly. It assigned well. Okay, so now we see that the text fields are allocated well on the screen, and we will be going now to the login button. Okay, so select your login button, and we want to keep this gap, left gap, right gap, and we want to keep the same height. So we click add constraints, we select top, left, and right, and to keep the same height. Very good. So this is done. Now we go to the forgot password. Here in this case, what I would recommend you always, there are different ways of working on something. Let's say select the forgot password once, hold Ctrl button on it, left mouse click drag to the login button, release, and select vertical spacing. So that trick means it is the same what if we select forgot password, add constraints, and we will use this one. So if you click this arrow, so it shows between login button and this forgot password button, it will keep 70 pixels gap. So this is what we have done. So we have aligned it vertically, means so vertical position we have aligned. So from login it will keep 70 pixels gap. So what do we need to do further? I'm giving you 5 seconds to get the answer. The next step will be we need to align this button centrally. Okay, we select this button with the one mouse click of left mouse click, hold Ctrl and left mouse click drag to the back view. You can select center horizontally. Now it's centered horizontally, but undo it, hold Command and Z. So undo it. I'll show you another way. So select this button, click that one, alignment, and select horizontally in container. Container means where it is stored. So now you see that it is aligned centrally. Okay, let's now try running our app and to see how it looks like with the different screen sizes. Excellent. So we see that this upper part of the app is aligned extremely nice and extremely well. Let's now go to the lower part. Okay, in this case, if we will be focusing on these parts, we have two ways to do this. Way number one, if we will focus while keeping the gap, we'll focus on the upper objects. And the way number two, while doing the alignment of these objects, we will focus on the bottom part. So what can happen? Let me explain you. So let's say when you will be using a smaller iPhone, the screen might be shorter and it can be something like this. In case if you use the way number one and focus on the upper objects, it will always keep the same gap and the or objects it will be invisible. But in case if we go with the way number two and we focus on the objects which is below than this, so then it will be kept right over here. Okay, so in this case, if we want these objects to focus on the below parts, we need first align the below part. Okay, I'll select register button. I'll select it with the one left mouse single click. I'll add a new constraint. We want to stick it to the left. Here we want to stick it to the left as this button. We want to stick it to the right and we want to stick it to the bottom. Okay, I'll click here left, bottom, right, and we want to keep the same height. Okay, what will happen if we will not use the same height? Okay, I'll uncheck this and add constraints. It will be using a default height of this button, but I want to keep the same height, let's say. Okay, so now we have done with the alignment of this button, and we will now go to the objects above. What we will do is we will select the all label and we'll use a little bit different way. Rather than clicking this button, select with the single mouse click on the label, hold Ctrl, left mouse click, drag to this button and release it. Select vertical spacing, so it will now keep the vertical space of 19 pixels. Or you can select this all button and here you can do it in this way. Do the register new account button. Okay, so as you see, it shows you an error. You need to select this yellow button and it shows you horizontal position is not right. So means we have declared the vertical position, but what about horizontal position? Because here we see that it's moved left from the center. And the second one, leading and trailing constraints are missing. Okay, leading constraints mean that part is a leading, that one is a trailing constraint. So means it is not aligned horizontally. If we click this red button, it gives us the suggestion, need constraint for X position. So means we need to give horizontal alignment for this. Okay, so I'm giving you another question. What do you think how this all label must be aligned? Those who say that this all label must be aligned centrally, they are right. Okay, so I'll select this all label. You can do it simply by clicking here and selecting horizontally in container, or you can one single click on it, hold Ctrl, left mouse click, drag and release. Center horizontally in safe area. So it will tell you that your label is using a more larger height than it actually requires. So because let's say expected is here, so here expected height 16, but the actual height is 21. So it tells us that 50%, 55 pixels of this label is not necessary, so we can avoid that. So you can click on it, you can try update constraints, or you can try update frame as Xcode recommending. So it will remove the unnecessary space in it. So I will undo it and I will center it using this one horizontally in container. So it will do it automatically. Okay, so then as the 5 unnecessary pixels were removed and this space was moved, the space, so before it was something like this, and now it is like that. Okay, so we need to realign those objects. Okay, I'll select both of them. You can select two objects by selecting one with the left mouse click, holding the shift button and selecting another one. And I will move it down to make it equal. So 10 pixels here and 9 pixels here. So what you can do is you can select this view, hold Alt and drag your mouse to OR and click right arrow so it will move it right. So now they are equal. And make sure that vertically they are aligned well. So select your view, see Y position 577 and Y position for the right view 577. Excellent. So what we need to do is, in this case, we need to keep a distance from OR. We don't want to overlap this view our label. So select your label, hold Ctrl left mouse click, drag to all horizontal spacing. Do the same, hold the right view, drag Ctrl left mouse click, drag horizontal spacing. So it says that it needs constraints, so it want to keep the horizontal, the vertical constraints. Select your view, hold Ctrl left mouse click, drag to or select center vertically, and let's try doing so. So select these both views, width and height, and now it says that everything is fine, but it will give you some recommendation trying to apply them, and you might get an errors. Let's try to apply the left constraint and here the right constraint. So in this case there are no any, there are not even a single error, but what we can try doing it in a different way. Select your two views, click clear constraint, select the left one, we'll make left and right, then we will keep the same height, and we need to align it vertically. Hold left mouse click, drag to or center vertically. So now we see no options, and we do here the same. Click add constraints, right left one, we'll keep the same height. It will show you the error that it needs Y position to be cleared. Hold Ctrl left mouse click and center it according to the label vertically. And we can do it in this way. Still, it will show you this type of clipping, that there can be a clipping. So at the current position, you can just simply ignore it. It just gives you an information that it might cause, but nothing gonna happen. And we launch it and we see that everything is fine with our alignment. So now you can test your app with the different devices, with the different screen sizes, and everything gonna be working very well. So this is how we do the alignment for our project. and this is the logic and the way of doing this. So congratulations guys that we have completed it very well. In case if you're having here more than messages than these two, so probably you have done a mistake while applying alignments and constraints, I advise you to rewind this video and watch again very carefully. Okay, so meantime we'll go further to the coding part.